So, good evening, Hefferdinas and Maraschinos. Reichle here, Friday night, in the polluted cesspool that is. My eyes are burning like crazy. I wonder why. I guess because there's Gen X in the air. Anyway, I've been working on a new rig, which over the course of time that I've been designing and building it, which is maybe about 3 weeks, it has seemed a bit abstract, in the sense of my mother not understanding the functionality or the possible use of this keyboard rig, and none of that stuff has really mattered to me that much, because my old rig, of which I have talked about many times, which consisted of this. This is my old rig that I put together in 1997 to play with the Governor Band in Columbus, Ohio. And this rig, this 6-bass rack with an Oberheim OB squared on top, in conjunction with these two keyboards, the Yamaha DX7 2FD and the Korg DS8. Those two keyboards acting as controllers for 3 modules in this 6-bass rack, which one is the Roland P330 in the top, and the other one is the Korg SG rack, which is there. I have a Lexicon digital reverb. Now I have a Furman Power strip. I have a Roland STE 1000 digital delay, and what makes up the third module is the Oberheim OB3 squared, which to this day, these 3 modules still sound remarkably quality compared to the plugins that are being used today in today's pop music, which is more often than not using computers, VST plugins, correction software, and above all, compression to create the sound of the music. And not that long ago, this rig, this wonderful 6-bass rack, that when I built it back in 1997, I meticulously hand wired all of the electrical connections, because I didn't have a space for a rack mounted power unit. So you can see inside the rack I used 2 multi adapters, AC adapters, splitters that have 3 outlets, 2 of those in tandem, and I mounted my wall warts in and strapped them down and hardwired them like a good surgeon would do doing surgery, so that when I carry this rack around, nothing ever moved. Everything is wire tied and nice and tight, and no strain on any of the cables, which is why over the years that it's performed flawlessly for me. And then of course what has happened in the last several years is the crucial piece of equipment that used to be here where the Furman power strip is now, was my Yamaha MX8 MIDI controlled patch bay, which controlled the routings, the MIDI routings. So with these 2 keyboards controlling these 3 rack mounted MIDI tone modules, all I ever had to do at any given time was push a preset on the DX7, and it would throw out a patch change to the MX8, and then it would set up my sound choices. So I had 32 presets, which is what you have on one bank of performances of the DX7 II, and each one of those I would push would give me different sounds on the top and the bottom keyboard in a usable fashion that you would use on a gig relating to style. So oftentimes the Hammond, which is being created by the Oberheim, would be on the top keyboard, and I have volume pedals there. And then the piano sounds would be on the bottom, or clav sounds, or strings, but it was mixed up with a big complement of different sound varieties, and these were on a much lower stand as opposed to the way that they are now, which is on this custom built rack system on top of the Rhodes. So anyway, whenever I would go to a gig, the DX would be on the bottom stand where I sit down and play like piano, and then the DX would be the DS would be up on a little scissor stand, and it was like it emulated a 2-manual Hammond organ, and it was very effective over the years while I used that until the MX8 decided to crap out. And I've been going through this for 2 or 3 years now, battling with that MX8. I found a used one. I reprogrammed it from scratch, which I did at least twice. And then whenever I did eventually come out here and build this shelf system, right, which is very unique, in that the shelf is built into the case of the Rhodes. So these wooden side pieces, which are cut to be aesthetically pleasing, are bolted to the side of the Rhodes case, which in a very humorous fashion, really this is the lid of a Rhodes piano, because the case on this particular Rhodes piano disintegrated and I didn't have a case, so it's sitting in the lid, and I made the lid the new case for this Rhodes 1977, including the damper mechanism, which has a block glued inside so that you can use the damper pedal. It needs to be enforced somewhat with probably a new bottom, with a new piece of heavier duty wood on the bottom, maybe 1/4 of an inch masonite, and some clamps to clamp it all together. But for the most part, you know, the Rhodes sounds really good, and these shelving brackets came out to be very successful in that they're very, very solid wood bolted to the case of the Rhodes, and the top shelf also is wood, and it's screwed down. And the DX took a long time, which was to replicate this commercially available metal bracket that is available from 2 different dealers that allows you to put a keyboard on top of the round Rhodes, the round topped Rhodes. So here are these, it's hard to see these in the dark, but is wood, a piece of wood and a piece of wood and another piece of wood, and it sits on actually the top of the lid.